Hello friends and welcome to Sustainable Prepping, your home for fear-free emergency preparedness and a sustainable life. My name is Brecky, and today we're going to be talking about 3 more unpopular opinions I have for emergency preparedness and sustainable living. If you're new here, I want to say a great big welcome. Glad you found my slides of the internet. If you're not new, I want to say welcome back. We are building a community and we are growing because of you. So if you enjoyed this video, share it with a friend, give it a like, subscribe to the channel. That way you never miss any of my fear-free emergency preparedness content. So I'm known for having some unpopular opinions on the YouTubes, in part because I am someone who identifies as progressive politically, but I'm also an emergency preparedness advocate, as well as someone who believes in meaningful, sustainable living. And I kind of fall in between two worlds: conservative preparedness community, which is the majority of people who identify as preppers, and liberals and progressives who I don't always agree with in the sustainability world. And I have 3 opinions that may or may not piss you off, but you know what? That's okay. We're here to share our opinions like actual humans who can disagree. So let's jump into 3 more of my unpopular opinions. And if you haven't already found it, I'll make sure to link my original 3 unpopular opinion videos above so you can see all of my less than savory opinions. Let's get started. My first super unpopular opinion is that hunting is overrated as a skill. Yeah, hunting is overrated as a skill. Now you're going to say, oh, that's because you don't like guns. That's not true. Those of you who don't know, I was a competitive sharpshooter when I was in high school. I was a living history reenactor and I know how to shoot black powder guns. Powder patch ball, people. And I'm not anti-gun. I just think that hunting, the emphasis on hunting is actually super overrated. If you know anything about the Great Depression, you will know that animals got hunted almost to the point of extinction. Things like squirrels and deer were hunted because people didn't have other skills and were hungry. So if you think that you can just rely on hunting and fishing and snaring, and that's going to actually meet your protein production needs, you are misinformed. That's not actually the best place to put your energy. Now, is it a totally useless skill? No, I just think it's an overrated skill. And it's an overrated skill because people like guns and they like to feel really powerful. And you get out there and exert your male dominance over an animal. Yeah. But you know what? We didn't build societies because of hunters, okay? We built societies because of agrarians. So you're gonna get a whole lot more mileage by learning how to farm than you are learning how to hunt. Now, that doesn't mean that hunting is a totally useless skill. I've already said this once before. It just means that it's not the most important. If you know how to hunt, but you can't clean and skin an animal and know how to cook all the different parts, you only know a part of the equation. And you're gonna get a whole lot more mileage from animal husbandry, from foraging. I mean, remember, hunter-gatherer, we ate a whole lot more from the gathering side of things than we did from the hunting side of things. So learning to forage really well, learning to grow just about anything, just about anywhere, those are way better skills if you're gonna learn a new skill than hunting. But we emphasize hunting because people like the gear and the gadgets and the guns. Everybody loves guns because they make you feel tough, right? But at the end of the day, hunting is not the most important skill. Farming, foraging, those are way more important. Yeah. And now that I pissed off all the gun lovers, I'm gonna piss off everyone else in the emergency preparedness community with this opinion. And that is, you can't prepare for future emergencies without changing your lifestyle now. What does that mean? It doesn't mean that you should have a preparedness lifestyle where you have a bunker in your basement and you're storing 10 years worth of food. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is that if you continue to live a lifestyle of full-on consumption at the level that people in the global West are living now, and full-on water consumption and full-on consumerism without being a producer, you aren't actually prepared for emergencies. You can be prepared for short-term acute emergencies because you got some food and water and whatever, but you're not going to survive the brave new world. You don't have the skills. This actually goes back to point number 1. You need to start changing your lifestyle now for a couple of reasons. 1, to help stave off this catastrophic emergency. Even people who kind of are accelerationists recognize that if you can change your lifestyle now, you might not fare so poorly in whatever catastrophic future is awaiting us. But still, we don't want to create more catastrophe. We don't want to exacerbate the potential catastrophes that are coming, right? That's a part of being prepared. So you should maybe not use quite so much fossil fuel. You should maybe learn to live a little bit more gently on the land. You should maybe use less plastic. You should maybe learn how to produce rather than just consume. Maybe instead of just focusing on acquiring stuff, we should change our entire systems. You know, maybe instead of everybody having their own little McMansion and a lawn that is stupid, we create eco networks and eco-villages through our pre-existing neighborhoods. Maybe we should have communities that learn skills together so that when the inevitable grid collapses, we're not totally screwed. These are things you can be doing now, and they are doing now. This is what the sustainable living community is already kind of about. They're already preparing for emergencies by changing their lifestyles. You can't just fill a basement full of food and first aid and gadgets and assume that's going to help you. You can't. You have to learn to change your lifestyle now. Just preparing for a future emergency without realizing that the future is now. Okay? Climate change is now. It's happening. Ask anybody who gets their power from the Colorado River, right? Ask anybody who's a hydroelectric specialist. Watch anything on the coming power outages throughout the summer because of heat waves. Like, it's now. The future is now. So change your lifestyle now. Learn to live differently now. That's a huge component. That is the only real way, real appreciable way that you're going to make a difference when it comes to emergency preparedness. Should you still have food and water and first aid? Of course you should. But if you think that's all you need, you are going to be sadly mistaken. So you want to be truly prepared for the future. You need to have food sovereignty through being able to produce at least something as well as consume, and to create local networks. You need to get off of your reliance on plastic as much as possible. You need to get off of your reliance on oil as much as possible. And we need to find better ways of energy freedom. What that looks like, I don't know. That's not my area of expertise, but there's plenty of people who have ideas, and you should follow them and make some lifestyle changes today. My third and final unpopular opinion is one I say a lot, and that is lone wolves are dumb. I've said this before. I've even said it in a recent video. Lone wolves are stupid. Nobody survives on their own. Now you're gonna point and say, there's this guy who went to the woods for 30 years and blah, blah, blah. Okay, there are exceptional individuals who can survive for a long time on their own. And you have to have a certain kind of mental toughness to be able to survive on your own, or even with like your family group. You need community. Your family cannot learn every single skill there is to know. Your family cannot have every single asset there is to have. Your family cannot do every single task. Heaven forbid illness comes to your family. If you don't have a network, you all die, right? This idea of rugged individualism and screw community and I'm gonna get off grid and do it myself. I don't trust anyone. That doesn't help us. That doesn't help anyone. In fact, if you look at emergency situations, if you look at the people who thrive in really bad catastrophes, it's people who have networks that extend beyond just their families. They have communities and they can rely on one another. That's a key important thing. And if you, like me, are afraid of Christofascism or any kind of big government fascism and big government takeover, you need to have a network of resistance. Like, you can't do it alone. Nobody is Superman. Lone wolves and this emphasis on rugged individualism, which is still so popular and prevalent in the prepping community, is a misunderstanding of hypermasculinity and survival skills. It negates the gifts of people who can't go into the woods with their guns. There's a lot of gifts to be had in civilization. And I could do a whole video on how a lot of this is that, wild Enkidu kind of character versus Gilgamesh and the civilizing effects of city-states and the power struggle between those things. The struggle of man versus civilization and the wildness versus the civilized is as old as human language. Okay, this is found in the Epic of Gilgamesh, one of the oldest pieces of written literature, if not the oldest. The point is, we have been struggling with this ideal, and we don't recognize that the whole lone wolf mentality actually comes from this mythic background. We set ourselves up for failure. Community matters. Your networks matter. Getting as many skill sets present matters. Does it open you up to risk? Sure. But I think that it's a whole lot better to take that risk, particularly if you take it in measured doses and you do the work now before the crisis to find your people, to create those networks, to create communities of care and sustainability, than to try to do everything on your own. And while I'm beginning to hear a little bit more about this and people talk about MAGs, mutual assisting groups, that's becoming more a part of the conversation, they seem to think that these MAGs are still kind of reserved for emergencies only, when really, why don't you cultivate these relationships all the time? Why don't you cultivate communities of care all the time? I just think that lone wolf prepping is some of the dumbest stuff I hear coming out of the prepping community. And there's a lot of stuff I think that is ill-informed. You need people, you need skills, you need assets, you need gear, and you can't possibly do it all. So lean into other people. Find those people now. Find your people now. And then when the acute emergency happens, you are going to be so much better prepared. You are going to be able to move seamlessly as a team, as a unit, as a community, in a way that others who haven't put that investment in won't be. All right, friends, those are my 3 spicy hot takes, my 3 unpopular opinions. Comment down below and let me know, do you agree or disagree with any of these opinions? And do you have any particularly unpopular opinions for emergency preparedness or sustainable living? These leaned more into emergency preparedness this time, but I'm an equal opportunity offender when it comes to my communities. I think that when you love a community and you're invested in a community, you're allowed to point out and critique it. That's kind of the point, right? I do it in love. I do it because I believe in emergency preparedness. I believe in sustainable living, and I want it to be better, not worse. Hope you guys are all doing well. You can find me over on Facebook and in Instagram. I'm getting more active again. As you can tell, the COVID is finally starting to dissipate, although I'm not 100% yet. But I am glad to be back and making videos for you at least twice a week. That's the goal, back to making videos twice a week. Hope you guys are doing well, and I will see you in the next video. Happy prepping.